In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Kuo Toa are described as short fishmen with a pudgy body covered in grey scales, rubbery skin, and a thin layer of slime, with slender arms and distended webbed hands. They reeked of rotting fish and tended to hide in the Underdark, or other places with darkness and damp locales, such as underwater caverns or fetid pools. As stupid as they tended to be, their society was one of strict adherence to doctrine, as they were controlled by a theocracy headed by Kuo Toa called V. Poolgal, loosely translated to priest kings. Their societal structure was one of strict hierarchy and castes, meant to keep them focused, as many Kuo Toa had the propensity for insanity. Their patron deity Blip Pooldulp, or Sea Mother, was an ancient elemental goddess of deep waters, whose spheres of influence were insanity, paranoia, and darkness. Some regard her as a figment of the Kuo Toa's imagination, while others believe that she is their collective insanity given material form. Regardless, this genetic disposition for insanity and paranoia tended to lead the Kuo Toa into servitude and worship of beings and gods from the far realms, believing that they were an aspect of their divine Sea Mother. The standard Kuo Toa has an AC of 13 and 18 hit points, with a walking and swim speed of 30. They have pretty standard stats and no resistances or immunities to speak of. They can breathe on land or in water and can see any creature within 30 feet of them that's invisible or in the ethereal plane. They have advantage on escaping grapples thanks to their slippery skin, and they have a sensitivity to sunlight. In combat, they can attack with a bite or a spear, with the bite dealing 2 to 5 damage and the spear dealing 2 to 7 damage if thrown, or 2 to 9 damage if in melee. They can also throw a net at players, restraining them on a hit. Players must then use their action to make a DC 10 strength check to escape, or deal 5 damage to the net to destroy it. The Kuo Toa also have the reaction Sticky Shield, in which when a player misses them with a melee attack, they can try to catch the weapon. The attacker must succeed on a DC 11 strength save, or else the weapon sticks to the Kuo Toa's shield. If the attacker does not let go of their weapon, they are considered grappled, and can only remove their weapon from the shield by succeeding on the strength throw on another turn, using their action. As a DM, I would use the standard Kuo Toa as foot soldiers and sentries, taking advantage of their decent perception and ability to see invisible creatures to position them as guards. I would probably mix in some archpriests or Kuo Toa whips to add some spellcasters to their forces. Regardless, they should always be underground or in caverns with water where they can avoid the sun and use the terrain to their advantage, swarming and overwhelming players. I would have them use their nets first to try and waste player actions in escaping. With enough Kuo Toa in a strike party, you should be able to net a target and then follow up with an attack from another Kuo Toa on the restrained target. From here, the strategy should be to use the spear at all costs, ignoring the bite attack unless the Kuo Toa is disarmed or has thrown their spear and is unable to retrieve it. They should be surrounding players and using their nets and advantage from flanking to bring them down. They should also be using their reaction Sticky Shield at every opportunity, as it's a great way to put melee players in a tough spot and is arguably the funniest damn thing to happen in combat. The Kuo Toa have been a creature in D&D for some time, and have inspired creatures in other games such as the Murlocs in World of Warcraft. Based on their design and religious lore, they're likely inspired by the Deep Ones of Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth. This story, a part of the Deep-Sea Cthulhu mythos, follows a young student on an antiquarian tour of New England. They arrive in the failing port of Innsmouth, where they discover that the town has fallen apart due to riots and madness that permeated its borders in the 1800s. He eventually finds that the current inhabitants are members of a pagan cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. This cult venerated Father Dagon and Mother Hydra, as well as Cthulhu, godlike eldritch horrors that live in the deepest fathoms of the sea. The cult would make human sacrifices to the Deep Ones, fish-like humanoids who would breed with and then eat the humans to create armies and to sustain themselves. The hybrid spawns created by the Deep Ones would appear human until their late teens, when they would suddenly take on fishy characteristics like bulging eyes, eventually becoming malformed human-fish hybrids in complete service to their Deep One masters, as well as the eldritch horrors that follow Cthulhu. In comparing the monsters to the Lovecraftian myth, we find that the Kuo Toa are inspired by the Deep Ones, and are closer to the human Deep One hybrids from the tale. Both races are lost, insane creatures that yearn to be closer to their twisted eldritch gods of the sea, and both desire to rule over their fabled underwater cities of madness that do not truly exist on the material plane. Well, at least for now. If you enjoyed that video, please leave a like and comment below, and consider subscribing to the channel. You can also join the Patreon for $1 a month to access videos days before they're posted here, as well as other exclusive stuff like short stories, videos, and more.